Or is it? Welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I can't speak tonight. That's not a good thing. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and these are my partners in the paranormal. I know it's bad, isn't it, guys? Mr. Blake Smith. Look at this.
Sorry.
Suddenly, I've lost my mind. Let me start over. Welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and these are my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts.
Hi.
And I'm telling you, I think I'm being affected already. We have got a really cool episode for you guys tonight. We are going to be talking about Peggy the doll and the infamous Annabelle. Mm-hmm. But before we get to them, we have a couple of very special guests. And they are Jillson and Sara Derrickson from Unsettling Toys, Removal, and Rehoming. Now, if you do not know what this is, they take toys, dolls specifically, from people who are having an issue with them in their home. They remove them and they rehome them to someone who can deal with whatever may or may not be going on with them. And when I found them, I'm like, oh my God, we have to talk to them. Because y'all know me, I hate dolls. I have some, I think I'm gonna let them take off my hands. But I went to this website, and when I was looking around, what did I do? I called you guys, and I went, guys.
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts when you saw the website?
The first thing that popped out to me was one of them that they're going to be talking about tonight. That was like, oh my God.
I know one that I saw. I don't know if you guys have a picture, but there was it's like a handmade clown cowboy that.
I saw him.
I did not like that one bit.
I think he's one of the ones that you can rehome, that you can invite.
I believe he is. I believe he's
the
up
warmth
to be
and the
rehomed.
comfort of your own house. No, thank you. Now, I will tell you, I did see one that caught my eye. And her name was Lila. And I kept looking at Lila, and I went off their website. About an hour later, I'm like, I'm going to go look at Lila again. And I went, what are you doing? Just the fact that you want it means you shouldn't get it.
Exactly. I mean,
Right?
you could be being beckoned to have Lila come into your home.
Lila's going to come and bite me in the middle of the night. I'm not going to fall for that. Well, guys, how about we go ahead and bring on Jillson and Sara Derrickson from Unsettling Toys, Removal, and Rehoming. Hi, you guys. How are you tonight?
Hey, y'all.
Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I got to tell you, we've been talking about having you guys on since I made the email. I'm like, please let him say yes. Please let him say yes. And so I want to know, how did this concept of unsettling toys being removed and rehomed come about?
It was all Brian's idea. We were sitting around.
We're
one
blaming
day.
him. We're blaming him? Okay.
We were sitting around looking at something weird that someone had given us, because we both like really weird, creepy stuff, and people give us weird, creepy stuff. And he was just like, someone should make a business that's like an adoption agency for all the creepy stuff that people have in their houses that they don't want, and get it to people who are looking for that kind of thing.
Then, so we had that idea and we were kind of wandering around looking for kind of interesting stuff. We thought, maybe it would just be kind of a fun thing to do together. And for my 50th birthday, Sarah gifted me the website, the Instagram page, and business cards. And I was running around embarrassing her by giving her business cards at all the places we went to that night.
To everyone he saw.
Everyone. Well,
love it.
Promote it.
You guys spread the word.
Yeah. So it's the first business I've ever owned, guys. Come on, I was excited. And but I think we thought we would just kind of be doing this for ourselves and maybe for some friends, and kind of maybe a little tongue in cheek. And then
it turns out it was an actual needed service.
I got
love
some I
it.
think I need
That's
you
awesome.
to take too. I got a couple of creepy ones I got locked up in an old toy box that they aren't ever coming out.
well, they certainly don't mind being locked up forever. Maybe you should let them out sometimes, and just let
Are
them
you crazy?
crawl around a little bit, have some freedom.
Just let him run around the house.
That's what I'm scared they'll do.
What was the first piece that you guys got when you started the business?
I think that was Creeperton. Was that Creeperton, Brian?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely Creeperton. That's where it all came from.
The way it shook out was really weird. Brian and I had been talking sort of just jokingly about starting the business. It was before I got the website and stuff. And I was helping one of my good friends clean out her mother-in-law's home. And my friend had been living there with her sons. And I was cleaning under their bunk bed. And I pull out this rabbit thing. And I was just like, what is this? And why is it under your kid's bed? And she looked
Yeah, that scared me too.
Oh my goodness.
That rabbit has teeth.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
What else can you say?
We're having audio issues on her part.
Yeah, I think
Sarah, we can't hear you.
Sarah, we can't hear you.
we can't hear you, Sarah.
I think she's just moving her mouth to mess with us.
She might be at this point.
Sarah,
yeah,
pop
she's
out and
breaking up.
pop back in. Tell us, Brian. Tell us about Mr. Creeper.
Yeah,
Sarah,
so
pop out and pop back in.
apparently no one knew where where it came from. Like the person that was there, her friend didn't know, and so they were toying with the idea of just kind of toss it in the bin, and Sarah did that, and apparently it had crawled out and got onto crawled. Nobody saw it crawl.
I was gonna say.
I was gonna say.
It had wormed its way out of the bag and was on the stairs. So, we had already discussed kind of like the idea of having some fun with this, and it came back. When she found it, she was like, "Oh well, maybe it's a sign. Maybe we should keep on to this thing." And
It's
then
a sign you should burn it.
But then where would we be now?
That
You
is
know?
true.
See, there you
True.
go.
Yeah,
True.
and
Mr. Creeperton has kind of become your official logo, correct?
oh, absolutely, yeah. That was just genius. I think on
Yeah,
Sarah's
he's
part.
pretty
I mean,
unsettling.
it's just terrible to look at, but it's also fun. We were at a horror festival, and we helped in the advertising and stuff like that. And so when our logo came up on the screen, it's just one of those things you look at it and most of the people laughed. It's just like one of those. It's kind of a funny, weird object. It's just
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you could ask for a better first one. To be completely honest.
No, you can't. It's perfect.
So is there a story with Mr. Creep? Like did y'all do your whole process? Tell us the process, and if there was a story with Mr. Creeperton.
Well, they found him under the bunk bed. And
Yeah,
she
yeah.
threw him away, and all of a sudden he
think the
reappeared on the
scary part
stairs.
is that no one knows anything about him. I mean, what's worse is like having a complete background on something, or just having something show up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what's
agree.
creepier to me.
I agree. Absolutely.
So now there are dolls that you have on your website that you do rehome. Now there are also some that you have in a separate section that says permanent collection.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, you got to tell me about Maria, because that is one creepy looking doll in your permanent collection.
Maria.
And Maria is
is
a Texas native, correct?
yes. Came from Texas. Maria is a life-size medical dummy. So it has little parts, you can almost see on the arm where it's kind of soft, where they would practice giving shots. That every joint works. The hands and the feet look incredibly lifelike. It's
Wow.
just completely. It's unsettling. It's just
Yeah, I'd say so.
A little bit. That face with the open mouth and the open.
right.
Now, but Maria has several different faces, correct?
Well, we have one that kind of looks like the Shatner mask. From,
Yeah, there you go, Blake.
my
You found it.
Yeah. And then that mask doesn't really stay on very well. So usually it's just the big, eye hole, gaping mouth.
The creepier one, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you come to be in possession of Maria?
Well, these people in Texas found us. It was not long after we started the business. So the story is the family that we got her from, they're into the creepier things in life too, and found her like in the paper or some periodical, and went to pick her up, and they hadn't settled on a name or anything like that, and the lady that was giving Maria up waved, goodbye, Maria, so then they were like, okay, well, keep the name, right? Mm-hmm. On the way home, they got into a car wreck.
Oh no.
And everybody was safe.
Oh, okay.
But it kind of came home with like the bad vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and it just didn't settle right with the family. It just didn't fit. And they found us, and she came to us all just kind of crumpled up in a big box on my porch, and and she's a character, it's kind of a neat showpiece kind of thing,
Oh, hell no.
You walk in, and you think somebody's sitting there all the time, and but I have yet to see her, dance or anything like that.
Yeah, she hasn't moved.
We're pretty safe.
She is definitely a conversation starter.
Absolutely.
She started a
Without
conversation
a
among
doubt.
us, like, what in the hell is that in his house?
Now, is there any piece that you've ever received that you just like instantly were just like, I do not want this thing anywhere around me? Like you felt like there was something wrong with it.
Well, to me, it's every clown that comes to the door. They
Right there with you.
they're just out to get you.
They are. You and I had this conversation. There is something very wrong with someone who paints their face to disguise who they are and wants to get around children. There is something very wrong with that. Very wrong with that.
Sure. Yeah. And I think for me, it stems from, like Poltergeist or that old movie Magic that was a dummy, but still it was just, it's anything that's sort of, human and just with those eyes that don't give you anything back. It's just
no.
Yeah, anything like that. Anything for sure.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So what are now in your permanent collection, of course, you have Maria and you have Mr. Creeperton, of course. Now, I noticed one named Winston. And Winston was interesting to me because he was just the head of a panther or a cat or a puma or some kind of
lion.
He's a lion.
He's a lion.
Where's his mane?
Well, it's just, it's
He'd been shaved.
had
which I'll roll with it.
Yeah, he's had a tough go. I think he's pretty old, so the manes fall off after.
Okay. So what was so special about Winston that you wanted to keep him? And you can go and see this on their website, Unsettling Toys Removal and Rehoming. You can go and see their permanent collection, and Winston is in there. Now, I was fascinated by Winston. And what made you decide that Winston had to stay with you?
I think it's just because it's so strange. He's made of some sort of completely made of leather, except for his like kind of green and green eyes and his white teeth. And it just, I really like the homemade stuff that's not mass produced. I feel like it just gives off a different feel. Things carry energies. And Winston is just something I just can't see letting go of. He's got a good energy, and he is just a mess to look at. He gives you the will.
So, what is the doll or the toy that has come in that it came through the door and you're immediately like, we have to get rid of this right now? Has there been one of those?
Yeah, there has been. And we recently actually rehomed it. It was what was the name of it? Shoot. Sometimes my brain goes with the names. It was Claudia. Claudia was a doll that came to us from a family that Claudia was sitting on a dresser, fell off and broke its leg off, and the family kind of taped it back together and all that stuff. And maybe a few days later, one of the daughters had an accident on a trampoline and broke the same leg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And so family just like, okay, we're just going to throw this in the closet. At that time, you throw things out or, and as the girl got a little older, she started hearing voice from the closet. So they actually boxed Claudia up, contacted us and said, we're sending you something. We're not going to tell you the story until it arrives.
They were afraid you weren't going to tell it.
It's like, why is this package ticking?
Yeah, you can be
Welcome back.
You can be afraid of something, obviously it's with your family, but you can also be afraid to toss it because, you see the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
always say there's 3 reasons people give us toys: love, fear, and guilt. Like, oh, this was Grandma Ida's and I can't get rid of it, but oh my God, this will not be in my house.
Yeah.
So Sarah, so glad to have you back on. Can you tell me, what is the rehoming process? If I came to you and I said, oh my gosh, I see Lila on your website, I need Lila. What is the process if I want to adopt Lila?
Well, people usually reach out to us by email, but they can reach out on any of our platforms. And some of the toys that we get have really, really scary backstories of like injuries and car crashes. And, some of them have had trouble with pets or small children. And so, like kids will hear voices from their closet, or dogs will bark and cry if they're in the same room as it. So some of them actually have limitations on who we adopt them to. Some of them we say shouldn't go to a home with children. If it's a really scary backstory, we prefer it to be someone that has a little bit of experience with things that maybe with spirit
Are naughty.
Yeah, like that. And so we just sort of have a conversation by email, and if it's a good fit for their household and their level of comfort, then they adopt. And if not, then we usually have a pretty good recommendation, for one that may be a better fit for them.
Have you ever had somebody send a toy back to you guys, or like, hey, I got this, but when I got it in my house, like all this crazy crap started happening. Could you please take this back?
Yeah. We really like it when people send them back to us because one of our first ones, she burned it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
We always we will help with shipping if you need to return one, and we'll help you find one that's a good match. But we have had other ones where people have sent them back. Often it's not the person who adopted, it's a family member. We had one and her fiance saw it and was just like, no.
We kind of put the money back, or not money back, but whatever, the guarantee on the website as kind of like a little tongue-in-cheek thing. But man, that one of the first ones when she destroyed it, it was like, whoa, oh no.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
we'll take it back and we'll find a different home. Yeah.
So I have a question for both of you, actually, and y'all can either answer it collectively or one at a time. I don't care. But so would you classify yourself like we're obviously we're paranormal investigators. That's what we classify ourselves are. Would y'all classify yourself as investigator of sorts, or just kind of more or less like a dealer in oddities, if you will?
I think more than anything, the real heart of what we love about our job is in stories. We take the history of these toys and the stories and experiences of the people who sent them, and we try to pass them on without filtering them through our lens at all. We try to pass them on exactly as they are with that whole story, as much as we can get, as just sort of to respect its history and respect, someone's experience who sent it to us, and make sure that the next person gets that. So more than like investigating or using our own lens at all, I think our job is to sort of preserve it exactly as it comes and pass that on.
Love that.
I can't even add to that. It's so perfect.
I know. I was like the
Look,
perfect
isn't that
answer.
sweet? I love the fact that you guys tell the backstory, whether it's good or bad. And something I found interesting when I was watching a segment that was done on you guys was that you actually send them their adoption papers with their story, and you put the little wax seal on it that they've officially been rehomed to you and you've adopted them. I thought that was really cool. Now, it may not be so cool when you get that thing up in your house and you're going, okay. You're like,
I do think it's a great little personal touch. It really is. And,
Yeah.
We have long standing correspondence with a lot of the people that we place with. And it's been so much more than I ever thought. I can't think of a better 50th birthday gift ever.
oh, that's so
awesome.
sweet.
That's awesome.
So is there a particular, well, let me see if I can figure out the right way to phrase this. Is there a particular doll that you've had a hard time letting go of?
Brian gets attached to like half of them.
At first I was, well, I don't want too many of these in my house.
I don't blame you.
I don't blame you.
And I was like, oh no, we'll place everything. And I fall in love with these little monsters,
All the handmade ones, if they look like sad and homemade, he's like, we're keeping this one.
Yeah. I'm a Cure fan. So, anything that is sad looking. I have one. He's in our private collection called Will, and he's just a red, white, and blue kind of nonchalant looking gentleman. But he's in my car. I take him everywhere now, and so far so good. But he just kind of looks. He looks like a bummer.
No.
Poor Will.
That's the one for me,
Poor Will.
Poor Will.
So, Sarah, do you have anything new in the collection that we might be interested in?
I don't know if I did.
Oh, look, she got something at the ready.
When I moved locations to get better Wi-Fi, he's in a different room, so my son is currently bolting to grab him for me.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
But
Awesome.
yeah, we got this new. I don't know what he is. He's supposed to be kind of a Jack in the Box, I suppose, but he doesn't move. He's just a clown.
Okay.
Oh, hell, here we go.
And the lady, thank you, baby. Here, Mom. So someone opened up their Christmas present from their grandma and found this.
Oh my
Did
God.
their grandma not like them?
I know,
Oh,
right?
no.
That thing looks like John Wayne Gacy.
Really does.
I am like truly horrified and terrified at the moment.
Yeah.
And he
Oh
doesn't
my
walk
God.
out of the box. He really just sits in the box, and he looked very. There we go.
Wow.
Like, how would you describe that expression? What emotion is that?
Serial killer.
Serial killer. That's about all I got.
I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just
Wow.
you're like maybe slightly intoxicated.
I'm not.
Yeah, he does look
Oh,
like
look at that.
Oh,
I'm
you got
completely chill
chills.
bumped up. Oh
now,
yeah.
Now I will. I will
What's his
say.
name?
I'm sorry.
What's
I
his
said,
name?
What's his name?
He doesn't have a name yet. He didn't. Or she
Oh,
did not.
Call him
name him.
Pogo.
Pogo the clown.
That's fitting, yeah. Pogo.
Capitalize on your serial killer and true crime audience.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I've
That's
named that doll.
I will say, however, I don't know what all y'all have done background wise on him, like story wise, whatnot, but I think that it is super interesting that you were not receiving any audio interference until the moment you mentioned him. I'm just going to throw that out
The
there.
moment he came on the screen, you began to have audio problems again.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
But and
I
now
think
you're,
Pogo may be a little possessed.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
hope that one of our people who really likes haunted dolls is watching right now, because I'm sure she'll be contacting you about Pogo the Clown.
She'll probably be contacting you about a couple of them, I would bet,
Yeah.
if she gets on your website.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the website's fun to look at, that's for sure. And
Oh yeah.
the Instagram, Sarah curates the Instagram, and I think it's fantastic. The pictures she gets of these little monsters are pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I will say that speaking of grandma giving presents that are clowns, and I know that she's watching, so sorry, Mom. Not my grandmother, but my mom. Sorry, Mom. My mom decided to gift me a present, and either Christmas or birthday. I think it was Christmas, if I remember correctly. And I opened it up, and these two little porcelain clowns, and they are no more than about 5 or 6 inches tall, and they're sitting on swings, and you can hang them, and they will swing, with the wind or whatnot. Creep me out, still creep me out to this day. Do I still have them? Yes, I do, because my mother gave them to me. They're in a box under the bed. Sorry, Mom.
Guilt, I tell you, guilt is a big one.
I know.
It's a big
But
one,
the only reason why she gave them to me is because I am an ex-theater kid, and they had the happy and the sad face on them. And I was like, that's great that they're clowns, Mother.
Oh my God. You guys want to see something really unusual?
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
was a woman who worked in hospice for her whole life, and she
Yeah.
collected these shrinking violet dolls, and she just loves them, and she says they're all full of positive energy, and I believe that. She really loves these, but she would come home and use them for support after long days in hospice, and they're from 1964. Trying we pull the string. Watch this.
Those are the ones that you're surrounded by in your picture.
Watch
Oh
it.
my God.
No.
No.
I am not a fan of that thing.
They say like so many phrases.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. She just talked in Demon.
No.
Yeah, that was in Demon.
That was in Demon. Now, those shrinking violet dolls are what you guys on our picture of you guys. You guys are surrounded by the shrinking violet dolls.
Yeah.
Like, do you have their picture that we had in the trailer?
I think
Those
that
are
I
all.
do.
And how many of those do you have?
Because
Because you had enough to.
She drove them up from Central California to hands deliver them.
Oh,
And we had about 15, and that's not her whole collection.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the thing is
insane.
like they
That's them.
yeah.
Yep,
That
here they
one with
are.
the really weird one in the middle with the glasses. That's
The really weird one in the middle with the glasses. You're gonna have to
I'm
narrow
still
that
looking
down.
for the string to pull on that one.
Oh.
And the other one won't ever shut up.
I love that. That's hilarious.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
So, are all these in your home right now?
Yeah, they're split between yeah. Yeah. It was just one of those things like they look, horrifying. But
Mhm.
but they do. They have such a really nice and positive energy background.
Mhm.
And you just never know. You never know.
Yeah, it's
They
one
were
of our-
around
one of
dead
the
people,
things-
Brian.
One of the things we found is that appearance has nothing to do with energy. Like a lot of people think the scary ones are like, with spirit, or, the sweet looking ones are positive energy. And it is so not what we've experienced.
Well, as an example, like you're going to talk about Annabelle, Annabelle, they had to really creepy that up for the movie.
Yes.
It's really a Raggedy
Yes.
Ann doll, right?
Yes.
And,
Yes, it is.
and so, a lot of them that are just kind of normal looking have come with the oddest and scariest stories. Like that one I was talking about, Claudia. We named it Claudia because it looked like Claudia from
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with the
Oh.
Vampire. And so it was like
okay.
kind of a, classic looking porcelain doll, but just had a terrible backstory. And
Yeah.
I didn't
Now-
even get to the part, Sarah, where my windows started rolling down in the back of the car because
That
What?
really happened.
yeah. So
That really happened. It was crazy.
we've had Claudia for a little while, and you do these little experiments, and so I thought, well, the leg came off, right? So I'll take the leg, and I had the leg in the back seat of my car. I don't know.
We're talking about dolls, people. He didn't cut nobody up. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
right. Yeah.
Clarify.
For people just tuning in, he's not a serial killer. He didn't have a leg in the back of the car. We're talking about a doll. Go
It
ahead,
was,
sir.
a tiny leg. And so the back window on the side that I had the leg on started rolling down on its own, electronically.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But I saw it
Yeah.
do it. It was legit rolling itself down. And I was like,
Yeah.
Ryan, what a terrible place to keep a possibly haunted item. Like, you don't put it in your car.
Yeah, I realized that was, after we had a conversation, and I was like, oh yeah, that's probably the dumbest thing I can do. Yeah. And I often need these conversations because I'm not terribly bright. And so yeah, I brought the thing in, and no more problems with the backseat window. Just stopped.
Yeah,
Wow.
it did. Stopped.
Yeah.
Well, since you have all these items in your home, what's the weirdest thing that has happened since you guys have started the business? Since everything has come in.
Do you have an example, Sarah?
When Claudia was in my basement, one of my kids had a nightmare that a giant pair of legs was chasing him through the house.
Oh, wow.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Claudia's real pissed about that leg, isn't she?
Yeah. Well, and he didn't know she was in the house. Like, it was the day she came. So Claudia always had to stay at Brian's house. Like,
Yeah.
you can't terrorize my children.
This is there are no kids here, so I get all the truly terrifying ones. I haven't had anything like completely creepy, though. You kind of live in denial sometimes. You might hear something and you're like, no, that can't be happening in the room next to my bedroom.
He finally acknowledges that it's going to get real hard to live in his house. So he's just like, not looking.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Rose-colored glasses, right? You
Yeah.
guys should head to
Rose-colored glasses
Portland
would be
and
on
you
that
guys
doll
you come
outside.
here and check this stuff out.
Oh, that'd be
Hey,
awesome.
you know what? Portland is on my list because you see, I'm fascinated with the Shanghai tunnels.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is someplace I would love to go. And and now the second reason I want to come is to come up and actually walk into your business and probably promptly walk back out in terror. But I'll give it the old college try to walk
There
in the
you
door.
go.
Right. Exactly.
I may not stay long. I would give it an honest effort, but the second I see a clown, it'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Along with the Shanghai tunnels in Portland, there's a pretty well-known bar called the White Eagle that I've talked to the bar owner, the previous bar owner, many years ago, and he was a believer. He was like, no, this place is haunted. It was upstairs. Used to be a bordello, back in the day. And
one of Blake's favorite words.
That's one of my favorite words.
is that one of your favorite words?
Oh, one of my
Yes, if you get
favorites.
the words
Yes.
bordello, brothel, or shoot, mortuary, funeral home, you're going to have activity in a
Yeah.
location. Asylum,
something
that's
going
another
on.
good one. You get the word
Yeah.
asylum, probably some
Yeah.
crap's going to go on.
Probably
Yeah.
something
So-
going on there.
That's one of the favorite words. We hear that,
I-
we're like, oh yeah.
Yep. Whenever somebody says bordello or brothel, I instantly get a smile. I've never been disappointed in something that was a former bordello or brothel.
Yeah.
So loved it.
Yeah, and what's funny? You were talking just a second ago about how the dolls that look so innocent are sometimes the nastiest one. There's a place that we've investigated on numerous occasions called the Old Park Hotel in Ballinger, Texas. And they have a doll that has her own room, and her name is Jenny. And she is the prettiest little doll. And I say that so that if she happens to hear me, she knows I've said good things. But I tell you, she sits on her little dresser, and you walk in, and I always walk in and I always say hello to her, and I always try to leave her something, a piece of candy, some pennies, something. And if you ask her to take her picture and you start snapping pictures of her, if she's in the mood to, you will see her mouth just go, just slightly move and see her smile.
Yep.
And you can catch the slight difference in pictures, but if she's unhappy, she will just and will not do anything.
One of those. We had one of those. They were twins named Amelie and Adeline, and they were adopted by someone in California. They were and she in photographs. It's not live, but in photographs you can see one of them. One of them will change her facial expression. Sometimes she's like really mean, and sometimes she's like kind of happy, like. But only one of the twins does it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about Jenny, because Jenny, if she's in the mood, great. If you can get her to do a little smile, great. But that doll has been known to move. And that bitch looks like she'll bite you in the middle of the night. I ain't sleeping that way.
Yes, she does.
She looks like she will crawl up on you and bite you when you aren't looking. So, yeah, Jenny can stay in her room.
Yeah, we can't have any of that.
Yeah. Do you ever get the feeling you got one that might bite you? Because they have a look if they're gonna sink their teeth
Brian
into you.
thinks that about all the clowns.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the clown thing. And Winston always has his mouth open, ready to go. But I haven't seen Winston run at me yet. So
well, Winston don't have any legs. He can't run at you.
Oh no, he's got legs. He's like he's ready to go. But,
I guess you just have his face on the
we
website.
just have his face.
I will say one other thing about Jenny real quick, and then we'll wrap up Jenny because we could be here all night talking about Jenny.
Oh yeah,
honestly.
Jenny's a mess.
Because one of our other team members, she just commented, if not, she'll lock you in the room. And we have actually had that happen at Old
Had her
Park.
slam the door on somebody.
We had one investigator right outside the doorway and one investigator inside the room. And the investigator inside the room thought she saw Jenny's head move, and she started to make her way out. And that door slammed, and they did everything that they could to try and get it open, and they could not. And finally, it budged open, and she came out.
That is just bananas.
Yeah.
So if something like that happens, I'm burning the house down.
You are my spirit animal, Brian. That's always my first thought is burn it down. They can't be saved.
That would be the smartest thing I've ever done.
And so the day Winston runs at you is the day Winston has to go, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Winston will be out on his
So other than Maria and Mr. Creeperton, favorite toy you've got? Wait a minute, let me rephrase. Other than Maria, Winston, or Mr. Creeperton, what is the one toy in your collection that you would never part with? Because we know you won't part with Maria or Mr. Creeperton. And probably not Winston, because we see your affinity for him. But what's the one that doesn't matter what somebody offers for you, you're not parting with them?
Oh no!
Oh, can't hear her again.
Sarah, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you again.
Oh no!
She's
holding
up.
She's holding up the new doll.
She won't part with Pogo.
For me, it's definitely Will. Yeah, Will.
Oh,
He's
okay.
He's a companion now. So
Yeah.
Okay, the one that rolls your windows up and down, huh?
No, that was Claudia.
That was Claudia.
That was Claudia.
Yeah.
Will is just hanging out in the car. We have a good time. And
Right, he's the one you ride around with.
He's the Cure fan.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you won't part with Will.
Yeah,
And Sarah, I
good.
really wish I could hear your answer on this. Sarah, if you're okay, blink.
I like to think it's
Okay,
me
she's
that you would part with.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
There you go. It's you.
No.
Well, I do know that you guys have got things to do this evening, and I have to tell you, I have had so much fun. I think I
Yes.
speak for the guys. I've had so much fun talking to you
It's
guys.
been a blast, y'all.
And I would love to have you guys back on, maybe to show us some of your new things in your collection. Maybe we'll pop you on and no more pogos though. But I think I've named that clown for you.
I think you
But
did.
Brian,
yeah.
tell them where they can find you guys if they would like to adopt and rehome one of your wonderful items that are on your website, or if they need to get something the hell out of their house, how can they find you?
Well, I think one of the cool things about having such a cool name, Unsettling Toys, is that we have it on every platform. Unsettlingtoys.com is the website. Unsettling Toys on Facebook. Same on the Instagram. And you just hit that button and check out the Unsettlingly Available, and that's where they all are. And then check the Instagram, because that's when we get new stuff. They show up there usually first, and
They go there first. Okay.
YouTube, we've got some unboxing videos, and we have a good time doing that.
Nice.
And, yeah,
check that out.
It's a scene, man.
Well, Brian, Sarah, thank you so much for being on with us. And again, if you want to find them, go to Unsettling Toys Removal and Rehoming and get your weird item now.
Yes.
Sarah, Brian, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
coming
much,
on with
guys.
us. We hope you have a good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
So, oh my gosh, what fun.
Yeah, they were awesome. I had
Who's
a really
going
good
to the
time with them.
website? I've been.
Oh, I've already been.
Oh, I've been. Like I said,
Yeah.
that damn cowboy clown just gave me the willies from hell. So
I'm
Yep.
telling you. Aren't they fun? I told you they were fun.
yeah,
But child, she brought that Pogo the clown up, and all of a sudden her audio wasn't working, and
Both
all of a sudden
times.
she said both times.
Yeah.
Both times. Because see, before we came on, she gave us a little sneak peek that she said, I have an item I want to show you. She pops it up and pops it down, and then she started having audio problems.
Yeah.
And funny
She
how
did.
she was just fine until she brought old Pogo. Somebody go and drop Pogo the clown. Somebody that don't live anywhere near me.
I would do it, but I've already been told no, I can't have anything
That's
else
it.
extra in this house.
and whatever you do, don't send it to Shelly when you adopt it.
Don't give
For real.
anybody any ideas. So, following our theme of unsettling things and unsettling toys, we are kicking off our month of ferocious females. It is Women's Month, and it also is Mother's Day coming up. So, everything this month will have either a female villain, ghost haunting, or they're going to just be a really bad mother. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start it out for you guys with Peggy the doll. Now, do you guys know about Peggy the doll? Have you heard of Peggy the doll? I believe, Ryan, you said you hadn't heard of Peggy.
I hadn't. I did a little bit of research, but I don't know much about Peggy. I know more about Annabelle than I do about Peggy.
So, Peggy pretty much looks like any other doll. She looks cute and innocent. Oh, but she is so much more. She is a paranormal wonder that wreaks havoc on people who watch her videos, stand too close to her, or stare into her eyes. Allegedly. My favorite word. So the story begins in 2014 when a paranormal investigator was contacted by a woman who bought a vintage doll. And the lady's name was Jane Harris. This is who was contacted. Now, if you don't know who Jane Harris is, she ran an organization that was called Haunted Dolls. So naturally, she was the logical choice for the lady who bought this doll to contact. The doll didn't have a name at that point, but the lady apparently really needed help. So the woman had told Jane that she had purchased the doll at what was called a car boot sale. Now, if you don't know what a car boot sale, that is like
It's a trunk, isn't it?
well, it's the UK's version of a flea market, basically.
Okay.
So she'd kind of gone to this flea market. She found this doll, but ever since she bought it, strange and frightening things had begun to happen to her. So Jane went to the house to check out the doll, and she took with her friend who was a psychic investigator named Hazel. Now, Jane was also a paranormal investigator as well. So, they're kind of going up, okay, let's go and see what this is all about. And when they arrived, the woman said right out there, and she directed them to the shed. She had been so spooked by the doll that she'd wrapped it, the 3-foot doll, in carpet and tied it tightly with a cord and locked it in the shed.
Oh, wow.
She
Oh,
told the
Lord.
experts that they would have to examine it outside because it was not coming back in her house.
I mean, she must have had some real spooky stuff going on then.
Now, I've thrown some shit in a toy box and set stuff on top of it, but I haven't,
Mhm.
I mean, I've stopped just short of pitching it out in the yard and saying the hell with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Again, That's really true. Sarah said, guilt, you don't throw it out because of guilt. I'm about to get over that. I'm going to tell you. So Jane looked at the doll. She examined the doll. She didn't see anything unusual. And so she decided she'd go inside and interview the owner. You got to do your due diligence. Could it be something with the owner? Could it be, could there really be something with this doll?
Mm-hmm.
And the lady told Jane that since she had purchased the doll, that she had had a terrible run of bad luck. But that was just kind of the beginning of what had happened. She had become unable to sleep. And when she did, she had terrible dreams and nightmares. The lady, who lived alone, had begun hearing footsteps around her house. She would hear the bathroom light switch click, 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 go on and off in the middle of the night. The doll was appearing in her dreams, and she'd wake feeling hot and with this burning sensation, and she would be shaking after she would see the dolls in her dreams.
Nope.
Yeah, that thing's got to go.
I am good. I don't know about y'all, but I done checked out at footsteps. Like,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
But the weird thing was that no matter where she moved the doll, her nightmares still persisted. And the final straw was when the woman came down with a mysterious illness that included severe fever and hallucinations. She began to see things that weren't there. But this illness was mysterious. She'd gone to a doctor. They told her nothing was wrong with her. Yet she's running a high fever, and she's seeing shit that ain't there. So the lady had called a local priest to help her. And the priest attempted an exorcism on the doll, but to no avail. So after several tries, multiple tries, the priest concluded that he just couldn't rid the doll of whatever was holding on to it. And the lady saw no other option but to get rid of the doll. So she was convinced that the doll was the reason for everything that had been happening. And so she found Jane Harris on the internet and she contacted her. Jane agreed that she would take the doll off her hands because at this point, Jane hasn't seen anything strange. Jane's like, okay, it's a doll. Okay,
Yeah.
We'll unwrap her from the carpet. We'll take her out of the shed. We'll take her to the house. She wanted to conduct an investigation on the doll in a controlled environment. Kind of we do. We set up our experiments. We see what happens. We leave things alone. So Jane wanted to do that with the doll in a controlled environment where she could control everything that was going on. But after 4 days, Jane began to feel the wrath of Peggy. So she describes that Jane herself was overcome with a mystery illness as well within 4 days. She was completely drained. She felt extremely fatigued. And after 2 weeks, she literally could not get out of bed. Her muscles weren't working. So her friend Hazel, that had gone with her to pick up the doll, asked, can it be the doll's fault? Now, Jane was like, no. She goes, I thought about that. She goes, but really a doll can't do this to me, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Hazel said, just let me take it out of the house. And after the doll was removed the house, within 72 hours, Jane was back to her normal self.
Oh, damn.
Just as if nothing had ever happened. She literally, her muscles would not allow her to get out of the bed. And 3 days later, 72 hours, yep, good as new again. Say what?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know, like, I believe her, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know what the hell's going on with that doll. If it's making people sick like that.
Yeah. So Jane put her team at her business, Haunted Dolls. She put them to work trying to figure out Peggy, just trying to figure this doll out.
So wait, hold on one second. So I'm trying to understand the full timeline as I've heard it. It's 4 days after she got Peggy, all this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then
4 days after she got Peggy, she began to feel sick. Within 2 weeks of owning her, she couldn't get out of bed.
Bedridden, basically. Remove the doll, 72 hours. She's good as new.
Back to herself. Mm-hmm. Back to her old self. So
Interesting.
the Haunted Dolls team got on it. And there was a medium that was on the Haunted Dolls team. And the team kind of deduced and decided that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a woman whose name was Peggy, who was born in London in 1946. And that Peggy had died of a chest condition, possibly asthma or emphysema. And 4 different psychics studied Peggy, and they all concluded that she was restless, frustrated, and previously persecuted in the time that she lived. Another one said there was possibly a link to the Holocaust. The spirit was possibly linked to the Holocaust. And, you know, and I kind of, when I first read that, I was kind of like, whatever. But if you think about it, when the body's dying from starvation, what happens? Your muscles get weak.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get up. You have no energy. You're fatigued. And I was just kind of thinking about it, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. I'm actually kind of seeing a parallel here that they
Could
might
be
be on something.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, they also told her that Peggy hates clowns.
Well, that's a little something we all have in common.
That's a little something
Yeah,
y'all have
for real.
in common with Peggy. I mean, I don't know. Why would Peggy hate clowns? Maybe because they're the only thing creepier than a dead chick inhabiting a doll. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing creepier than
True.
I mean,
I don't know.
but the psychics in the group also told Jane that Peggy does like cats, that she really likes cats.
Hey, me
And in
too.
fact, allegedly, she came to a woman in her dream that had only been in Peggy's vicinity for a short amount of time. Peggy appeared to a woman in her dream and said, basically, you have to check on your cat. She was warning her there's something wrong with your cat. The lady wakes up and is like, okay, what the hell is going on with this? She goes back to sleep. She gets up the next morning and her cat is very, very sick. And unfortunately, the kitty cat passes away later that day. But Peggy actually was trying to warn her that there's something wrong with the kitty cat.
So she's not all bad.
I'm going to tell y'all now, we got to quit picking these stories. This is like week 3 in a row that an animal has died or something or disappeared.
I know.
We got to quit with
It's
this
not
shit.
So Jane decided that she was going to put this out and she was going to get the input from the public. She decided to post photos and videos of Peggy on Facebook. And that is when all hell broke loose. The next day, she had over 80 messages from people blaming Peggy for some sort of misfortune after they'd seen her photo or had stared into her eyes. The viewers of the pictures and of the video reported that their computers froze with Peggy's image on the screen. And I have to tell you guys, honest to God, I was on the phone with Blake when this happened. I was watching something with Peggy the doll. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is what they report. And I'm kind of telling Blake what they report. And I swear to you, my computer screen froze with Peggy's image in the center of it.
What?
Blake was on the phone with me, and I
Yep.
go, you are not going to effing believe this.
Yep.
To the point where I had to close my tab and restart my iPad.
Like it just froze it all the way up completely,
Froze.
like it was
I
locked.
was like moving my finger on it. It wouldn't do anything.
Wow.
And I had to literally turn it off. So that one, I can say, has happened to me. So the viewers reported the computers freezing, the room getting ice cold, light bulbs exploding, vicious
Jesus.
nightmares, headaches, chest pains, their animals freaking out, barking, growling, or spinning in circles, pounding footsteps. But the worst that was reported was that a lady claimed that after looking at the pictures on Facebook and looking into Peggy's eyes, she suffered a heart attack after viewing Peggy.
Now, do we know if when she posted on Facebook, did she like post, say, hey, y'all, look at this creepy doll. Can you tell me something about it? Or did she say,
Basically what she put, I
Okay,
need some
she did
information
not-
about this doll.
disclose any sort of information about the previous illnesses that her and the woman before her had or anything else?
No, not to my
Okay.
knowledge. So who wants to see her, guys?
Not me.
Well, I'm going to give you the disclaimer right now. Blake is about to put up Peggy the doll's full face. You are going to see her eyes. You are going to see her full face. Again, right now, if you do not want to see Peggy's face, put your hand over the camera, put your hand over the screen, turn the screen around. We will let you know when it comes up, and we will let you know. There you go, Blake. And we will let you know when she goes off. So, again, by continuing to watch, you are agreeing that you have now been told what can happen to you, and you hold us harmless. So, therefore, view Peggy at your own risk. Blake, would you like to go ahead and put up the picture of Peggy the doll? Let's
Yep.
see if our podcast stays up. Okay, here she comes, guys. And that is Peggy. And you can see she's got her little blonde bob. She has her pretty blue eyes. And she looks like an ordinary doll. Okay, Blake, take her down. Okay, Peggy is off the screen. You big chicken shits.
80 people.
Hey, yeah.
80 people. That's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna be 81
no.
over here.
No, I don't want to be 82.
So everybody okay? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, I didn't see
Any
her. I'm
viewers
fine.
popping on saying that they suddenly, had an issue?
No, but Paula said I ain't no punk.
I ain't no punk ass bitch either. I looked at Peggy.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. I was like, no, I ain't dealing with that today. So
You're like,
All
I've
right.
had enough today.
I already got enough going on in my house. I don't need to add
Okay.
more to it.
yeah,
So everybody's okay, right?
good.
Everybody's
Yes.
good? Okay, good. So Jane said that whenever people would contact her about the incidents that were happening to them, that she would take Peggy into an isolation room, a little quiet room, and she'd politely and kindly ask her to stop tormenting strangers. And the incidents would stop. So I guess it's good to know that Peggy's reasonable.
yeah.
But it seems like Peggy didn't really want to be figured out. Jane says that she had numerous conversations via the pendulum or dowsing rods or, just trying to figure out the doll, psychics talking to the doll, and that she had some extremely productive sessions. Words are hard.
Words are hard.
Extremely productive sessions, especially using the pendulum. And she kept all of the results of her findings in a notebook. She had planned to publish her notes. But the day she was going to go take them to be published, the notebook disappeared. Could not be found.
What?
It was later found in the rafters of her basement.
What?
So high up, wedged in between the support beams, that her husband had to get a ladder to retrieve it.
What the fuck?
Wow. Okay.
Good Lord.
Wasn't like you could just pitch it up there. I
Yeah.
mean, it was crammed up there. And she swears that her notebook was always in the same spot, that it had been there for the longest time and nobody had ever bothered it, and that it suddenly disappeared. And when cleaning in the basement, they happened to find it stuck up in the rafters and the support beams, hidden. So Jane said she got the feeling that Peggy probably didn't want her information to be shared. Of course, that didn't stop her. So all of this strangeness caught the attention of U.S. ghost hunter Zach Bagans.
Mm-hmm.
And he convinced Jane Harris to bring the doll to Las Vegas for an interview. Now, during this interview, most of y'all have probably already seen this Ghost Adventures episode with Peggy the doll.
Mhm.
During the interview, the set was inundated with issues during the filming, which included flies appearing out of nowhere. There were flies, and you see him just kind of react to the he goes, "Oh, there's a fly in here," he just kind of blows it off, and there literally were like dozens of flies that began to appear in the studio. The camera that was on Peggy turned off during filming.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Zach claimed that there was poltergeist activity and that it had negative mental effects on him, that he got very angry. So he also interviewed the lady that claimed to have had a heart attack seconds after seeing the doll.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach stated that he believed every word of her story. Now, I went back and I watched this. And this lady, she's not full of bullshit. This lady is in tears and she's crying and she's upset and she's retelling her story. And whether or not the doll caused the heart attack or not, she is 100% convinced that it did. And that fear that she has is absolutely real.
Yeah.
And that was terrifying to watch that woman relive that. So Jane has allowed Peggy at this point, because Zach Bagans says, I have to have this for my haunted museum. So she allowed Peggy to be put on display at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. However, there are a few precautions in place. Peggy is locked away. She is in
Mhm.
her own room in a specially made cabinet with multiple cameras pointed at her at all times, permanently fixed on her. And oh yeah, if you want to go in and see her, you have to sign a waiver that releases Zach Bagans and the museum from any and all liability for the consequences that come from you choosing to view the doll. I mean, you wouldn't begrudge a guy a little protection, would you?
No, I don't blame him, especially if all that's going on with that thing, and you don't want to be held liable for anything when it comes to that. So I don't blame him at all.
So
Yeah.
if you want to see Peggy the doll, she is on, I believe, permanent display at Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. Again, you got to sign a waiver, but you can see Peggy the doll. What do you think about Peggy? Ryan, you know a little bit more about Peggy than when you started?
I know a little bit more about her now. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. That might be the one I have to skip out on if I ever go to the whole museum.
We just got to bypass this room real quick.
Yeah, I'm just going to go over here. I'm not going to go in there.
Yeah.
I'm with Paula. I ain't no punk ass bitch.
That just might be the one where I'm just like, no, I'm okay.
I would be disappointed in you if you did, Ryan.
Well,
too
join
bad,
the
so
club.
sad.
Ryan, you so would go in because you would be like, dang, I was there and I didn't go in. And now I'm wishing I should have gone in. And
Yeah.
it's a doll. It can't hurt you.
No.
So you say.
Yeah.
Or can
Ask the lady that had a heart
Yeah,
attack.
that's what I'm saying. Ask
Yeah.
her. I ain't trying to tell. I'm not trying to test fate over here.
Yeah. No
So-
shit.
So speaking of dolls that cause injury, now we move on to the one that is probably the most famous, at least female doll, that has inspired a lot of movies. That is truly the stuff of nightmares. And she sits in a glass case bearing a hand-carved inscription of the Lord's Prayer and St. Michael the Archangel's Prayer. And beneath the case is a sign that reads, "Positively do not open." And it's an ordinary little Raggedy Ann doll that's anything but ordinary. Since her first alleged haunting, she has been blamed for everything from demonic possessions to violent attacks to death and near-death experiences, and it has inspired a series of horror movies and nightmares for those who have actually had an encounter with Annabelle. And that is Annabelle.
Dum dum dum.
So,
I feel like we need a sound effect that just does that every time we pop
I
something on the
know,
screen.
I
Dum
know.
dum dum.
so let me tell you the story of Annabelle. Now, Annabelle is one that my hatred for dolls, it runs deep and it's real. And this story begins in 1970 or 1971, depending on which account you read. And it starts in Hartford, Connecticut. On a shelf in a secondhand store sat a lonely and forlorn-looking Raggedy Ann doll. It was an unassuming little doll, but it caught the eye of a woman who was searching for a gift for her daughter. Her daughter was a 28-year-old nurse named Donna. And while, Donna she was too old for dolls, but there was just something about this one. It was special. So the mother made her purchase and wrapped it up for her daughter. And Donna was delighted with this shaggy little doll. She put it on her couch and so that it could see everyone coming in and out. She put it on her bed. She slept with it. And Donna shared the apartment with a roommate named Angie. And both of these ladies were nurses. And Angie adored the doll. They had so much fun with this doll. And as a joke, they would bring the doll to the table with them, and they would give her a seat, and they would give her a plate, and they would talk to her, and they would giggle, and they would have conversations with the doll. And they began to treat this doll as if it was a child. They took her for rides in the car. They bought her clothes. They bought her little pieces of jewelry. And I don't know if you can see in there, but there is a little gold bracelet on Annabelle's wrist that no one has ever removed. This is alleged to have been given to her by Donna and Angie to wear. And this is all well and good until one morning at breakfast when something odd happened. The doll was sitting in her usual little chair with her little plate in front of her, and the girls noticed that the doll's arms had somehow moved up on top of the table.
Nope.
Now, neither one of the girls had moved the doll, but somehow or another, the hands, instead of being at her side, were now on top of the table. But they ignored it.
I don't know if that's something you really ignore.
Yeah. Hold on, wait. I don't think that's something you really ignore. I mean,
yeah. I don't know if I got something that starts moving. It's going out today. I don't think so. No.
But they ignored it. Then other things began to happen. The girls would find the doll in a different position on the bed, or in a different location in the room, or sometimes in another room from where they'd left it. They even came home one night and the doll wasn't on the sofa where Donna and Angie had left her. And they searched for the doll throughout the house. And they found her in Donna's room on the bed with the door closed.
Nope.
Knowing that no one else has been in the apartment, knowing that you were the only ones that have a key, y'all both went to work together, y'all both left together, and y'all both came home together, and there's no signs of an injury, like nobody broke in. You come home and that thing is laying on your bed and the door is shut, and you know you didn't leave it there.
Nope.
No.
Nope. I will go to any building and chase anything in the dark that I can't see. But if a doll starts moving in my house, no.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Like Brian said, burn it down.
Burn it down. Burn it down. That's a little too unsettling for me.
There you go. So you know what, the girls kind of thought, well, someone's messing with us, because dolls can't move. Or can they? Angie and Donna scoured the house for any signs of any intruder, but they found none. Then small pieces of parchment paper began to be found around the apartment. And these little pieces of parchment paper had the words, "Help me," or "Help us," written on them.
What?
Us?
Yeah, who was this us?
Don't know, but they started to appear around the apartment. And even though the girls were still uneasy, they decided to ignore it. There's a theme going on here. However, they had gotten to the point where they were no longer comfortable being in the house alone with the doll.
You don't say.
Yeah. So now they were nurses, and they had worked on rotating shifts. So they changed their schedules at work so that they would both be on the same shift, which was 4 p.m. to midnight. And they worked at the Hartford Hospital. And that way, neither one of them would have to be at home alone with the doll. Now, Donna had a boyfriend. Now, some accounts say it's Angie's boyfriend. Some accounts say it's Donna's. Most of the accounts say it's Donna's boyfriend named Lou. So Donna had a boyfriend named Lou. And that boyfriend would stay over on occasion. And he did not like that damn doll. He did not like that doll at all. In fact, he told Donna that he thought that doll was evil and that he wanted her to get rid of it. He even suggested loudly that she throw it away, or better yet, burn it.
You're just going to piss the doll off now.
No shit.
Yeah.
Funny you should say that, because not too long after he made that suggestion, Donna's boyfriend was staying over. And he was awakened by the feeling of being strangled. In his panic state, he was coughing, he was gasping for air, and he looked around and he sees the doll next to him, staring at him in the eyes. And he jumps up from the bed, he grabbed the doll and screamed at it, "You're just a doll, you can't hurt anybody." And then he flings the doll across the room and into the wall. And within seconds, 7 deep scratches appear on his upper chest and torso. Red, welted, and bleeding scratches.
Oh, so it drew blood on him.
Drew blood.
Okay, because I knew he got scratched. I didn't know he was bleeding like that.
The scratches drew blood. So what would you do? Would you stay or would you go?
Bye. Call me later. As soon as you get rid of this thing, I'll no.
No, if your girlfriend's doll attacked you, you wouldn't stay to protect her.
Oh, damn it. See, now you're making me feel guilty.
See, You just gonna ditch your woman in there with the crazy doll?
No, I take her with me. I'm like, we'll leave this here. We're gonna burn her over. We're gonna get the hell out of here.
So after that, the activity after Lou had really pissed the doll off good and proper, the activity started actually to intensify as if it wasn't big enough already. Pictures would randomly fall off walls, shattering the glass of the picture frames. Low, deep panting sounds were randomly heard in the apartment, and chairs would move around the room by themselves. Now, finally, at their wits' end, the girls decided they should contact a medium and try to figure out what in the hell was going on.
I'd say so.
It's about damn time, right?
Sorry, Annabelle came for me. I don't know what the hell happened.
Oh, that's all right.
But I think it's funny. I do come back to this comment. No, Annabelle, take Ryan, not Blake.
Hey.
Damn. No, Annabelle can't have anybody. So this medium comes over, and the medium decides that she is going to conduct a seance. And she told the girls that, I've received a message, and that the doll is inhabited by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. And little Annabelle had been killed in an auto accident on the property before the building was built. But the medium also told the girls that the spirit was benevolent and only wanted to be cared for and loved. Well, Donna and Angie fell for it. They felt bad for the little lost spirit, and they decided that they would tell Annabelle that she was welcome to stay in the house and stay with the doll.
Nope.
Some things are just looking for an invitation. That's
exactly.
As soon as you say you can, you are in for it.
And that is all that it takes right there. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No.
Nope.
Yeah.
Stupid. I'm sorry. Stupid. Sorry.
Well, the troubles went into overdrive. See,
you don't say.
When the girls began to believe that the doll deserved their sympathy, Annabelle's power seemed to intensify. And the final straw, here's finally the final straw. The final straw was when the girls came home from their shift together. They'd been working at the hospital all night. They come walking in the door to find the doll standing in the living room waiting for them, and appeared to have drops of blood on her hands.
Hold on. Now, no. Now, when you say standing, like it was not leaning up against something, it was freestanding in the middle.
Freestanding in the middle of the room.
Nope.
Let me put this woman back up on the screen.
This doll is cloth bodied.
No.
Nope.
And where did the damn blood come from? Oh, hell.
Shelly. What the hell?
This is a replica of Annabelle. She is 3 feet tall. She is a cloth body doll, and once you see the legs.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is that just a Raggedy Ann doll, or you specifically bought a replica of Annabelle?
This is just a Raggedy Ann doll.
Okay. I was going to say, wait a minute.
Y'all know how much I hate dolls.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm not going to talk to you, but you can sit here.
But to find that standing.
No, you can't.
I mean, standing alone in the middle of the room would be creepy
That's
as
the
hell.
legs.
But with the blood on it as well, that's just extra note. That's extra note fuel.
And I found that in 2 different stories, but not in any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, Angie and Donna were scared enough that they called the High Episcopal Canon in their church, who then called exorcist Father Richard Nolan, who then called Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren came to inspect the doll as quickly as they could. The Warrens noted that there were signs of demonic possession with this doll. And the signs that they cited were teleportation, which would be the movement of the doll throughout the rooms. Materialization, which would have been the appearance of the notes. And an attempt to mark humans, which were the scratches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's believed that this demonic spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of being alive to garner sympathy and get recognition. So basically, you acknowledge it, you give it power.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was going for.
Nope.
However, they didn't think that the spirit wanted to stay in the doll. Rather, it was looking for a human host.
Mm-mm.
So the Warrens immediately ordered an exorcism of the house or the apartment. And so they had it done by an exorcist named Father Cook. And the girls asked for the doll to be removed. They had it. They were done. So the Warrens agreed to take Annabelle once the exorcism of the house was complete. And Annabelle was in the house. And then they removed her, thinking that perhaps that would have taken care of the issue. The girls didn't want the doll. They were going to remove the doll. But apparently Annabelle didn't want to leave. The Warrens put Annabelle in the backseat of their car and buckled her into the seatbelt because, they didn't know what this bitch was going to do. So they had to lock her up.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided that instead of taking the highway, that they would drive on the back roads. Just in case Annabelle got, a little out of hand, they could pull over and get her back in line and make sure she was doing all right. But actually, Annabelle appeared to have some kind of accident causing power. Because on the trip home, the Warrens claimed that several times during their trip, the brakes on their car either stalled where they'd have to pump them or completely failed, resulting in several near disastrous crashes. Ed Warren pulled the car over, grabbed the holy water, and doused Annabelle with the holy water. And the issues with the brakes stopped. And they were able to continue on to their home. That's why we always carry holy water, people. Always keep that shit. Always keep that shit close by. So initially, Annabelle was put into Ed's study. But Warren's reported she never really stayed there very long, that she would move. That she was also stand. And that she'd also appeared to levitate at some point. Ooh. And he ended up putting her in an outside storage building. Again, here we go with the storage building. Putting her in an outside storage building and locking the door to it. But somehow or another, Annabelle would appear back in the house within a few days, with nobody really sure how she got there.
I read a story where they would go out of town and they didn't have a housekeeper or anything. Like they would put her and they would come back and she would not be in the shed when they came from out of town. She would be sitting in Ed's study again.
Explain that, Lucy.
F that. I don't know what else to say. F that.
Yeah.
So finally, the Warrens decided that Annabelle, that she needed to be locked up for good, that she could not be trusted to just sit in her little spot in the house. So they designed a special glass and wood case and again, inscribed with the Lord's Prayer and St. Michael the Archangel's Prayer. And she was placed in the box and she was put on display in the basement. And throughout his life, Ed Warren would periodically go down to the basement and say a prayer to bind the doll in the box, just to make sure that the doll and the spirit stayed put. But even though Annabelle is in a box, it's been reported that her spirit is able to reach out to the earthly plane, if you will. A priest came to visit the Warrens, a young priest, and he picked up Annabelle. He scoffed at her, was like, demon abilities, whatever. And Ed looked at the priest and he warned him and he said, don't mock the doll. Don't mock the entity in the doll. But the young priest just laughed it off and he bid farewell to the Warrens and he left. And on his way home, the young priest was involved in a car accident, nearly fatal. It demolished his car, and he reported that just seconds before the accident, that he had seen Annabelle in his rearview mirror.
Oh, hell no.
Years later, another visitor was at the museum, went down to Annabelle's box and began tapping, tap, 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 tapping on the glass, laughing loudly, and mocking people for their belief in the ability of the doll.
Mm-mm.
And he thought that they were so funny that he couldn't believe they thought that doll was possessed. And he's laughing. And finally he leaves, he and his girlfriend. They get on their motorcycle and off they go. On his way home, he lost the control of the motorcycle and went headlong into a tree and was killed instantly.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't
His
fuck with Annabelle.
girlfriend barely survived the crash, but she did relay that just before the crash, he was still laughing and mocking Annabelle. Yeah, don't do
Wow.
that shit.
No.
Don't do that
Wow.
shit.
If they tell you for a reason not to touch something, or they tell you there is something in there that you don't want to mess with, you don't mess with it.
Yeah.
So
'Cause
another,
that shit
yeah,
will happen to you if you do what they tell you not to do.
that's right. So another count by the Warrens. Ed had a friend on the police force that stopped by just to see the doll. He'd heard about Annabelle the doll, and he wanted to come and see her. So just after arriving, he had taken his friend who was on the police force down to see the doll. Well, Ed gets a phone call that he has to take. So he apologizes and says, hey, I have to take this phone call, but I'll be right back. Hey, listen, don't touch the doll. Just don't touch the doll. I'll be right back. So Ed finished his call and he headed back downstairs to the basement to find his friend. But he didn't have to look for long. The officer rushed past Ed, saying that he had to get out of there. He was pale, he was sweaty, and he ran away from the property. Ed had asked him on numerous occasions what was wrong, what had happened. But the man never spoke about what he experienced in the basement. But the effects of whatever it was he experienced were obviously very traumatizing. He even ended up quitting the police force because he could not deal with whatever had happened to him when he was around Annabelle. Now, Ryan, I believe you said that you had actually read that story as well.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Did I leave any part of that out? Because there was something that seems like there was something else that I'd left out of it.
I don't think so. I think you covered everything. It's because they, other than Ed just knew that he had touched the doll. He just knew that's exactly what happened.
Ed was sure that he had touched the doll, even though there wasn't any indication that he had touched the doll. But Ed was pretty certain.
Because at the time they still had the museum and everything, but I think that was the gnarliest thing in the museum, and that's the only thing that ever made sense to Ed was, hey, he won't talk about it, and I told him not to touch it because if I remember right, before he took that phone call, that detective had looked Annabelle into the eyes and was walking towards the case, and Ed stopped him before he got there.
Yep, and said, "Hey, listen, don't touch the doll. I'll be right back."
Mm-hmm.
So although Ed and Lorraine Warren had both obviously passed away, their daughter Judy and her husband Tony Sparrow, they've been entrusted to care for all the works of the Warrens and all the artifacts in the museum. And Lorraine Warren had actually stated that the thing that she was most afraid of in the museum was Annabelle. And Tony Sparrow actually echoes that statement, saying, I'm going to quote him, "Is it dangerous? Yes, it is. It is the most dangerous thing in the museum." And for those who kind of doubt Annabelle's power, Tony Sparrow likens it to playing Russian roulette. And he says, there might be just one bullet in the gun, but would you still pull the trigger, or would you just put the gun down and not take the risk? So Annabelle is housed at the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Venture to see her if you dare.
Now, Ryan, you found an interesting story about something very recent with Annabelle.
I did. And I believe it happened this week or last week. They moved her from her encasement.
I knew you were going to tell that, so I left that out.
So, the video that I saw was Tony Sparrow, and it was his helper. I don't know who the guy is, but he's talking about, he's like, hey, we're going to move Annabelle. And he's like, when I open this case, do it quickly. And so the guy has his hands out, and Tony Sparrow douses this guy's hands in holy water and also gives him gloves on top of it. They open the case, and Tony had told the guy, be quick about it. But the guy takes
Yeah.
his sweet and precious time moving Annabelle from point A to
No.
point B into another case, because I think they're having to restain her case or do something to her case. But he takes his sweet and precious time. And when it comes to something like that, time is of the essence. When they say be fast about it, they mean be fast. So I would be interested to see what happened to that guy. Like if he's had any like weird stuff happen to him since he's touched Annabelle.
He obviously had a case of the dumbasses.
But
He must have.
When they tell you anything that has to do with any haunted, this doesn't just go for dolls. This goes for locations and objects and all that kind of stuff. If they say ask permission to take a picture, ask permission. Then if they say don't touch it, don't touch it. If they say don't take anything, don't take anything. Just be respectful of the paranormal, because the paranormal, if there's somebody in this field that's like, I'm an expert. Bullshit. The paranormal is so unknown, it's unreal. Now there
cannot be an expert in the unknown.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's the unknown.
You can think and know a lot about something. You can to the best of your ability think but you don't necessarily know.
Exactly. The way that I love that it's put is there are no experts in the paranormal field. There are only experienced learners, and that's
right.
So freaking true. But just for everybody who is watching and listening, if they tell you don't do something, don't do it. If they tell you to do something,
there's a reason.
Then do it. There is a reason behind it, and the paranormal is so unknown. It's just like Shelley said with Russian roulette and the one bullet. Do you really want to take the chance of that being the one time that something horrible happens? And now I'll step off my soapbox.
By the way, I do believe I'm going to be sending this to Unsettling Toys because I really hate this effing doll.
It's just a creepy doll.
This is Tornado Terry. You know where I found her?
Where?
She had been in our attic, and after the tornado hit us, she was in the back of my mother's car, the one that had the glass broken out.
What?
So this bitch going to Unsettling Toys.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Man.
Now, don't get me wrong. There was a hole blown in the attic, in the garage. But somehow or another, she made it down from the attic and into the back of my mother's car where the glass had been blown out. Didn't she, Terry?
No, thank you.
So I think I'm going to be sending her to Unsettling Toys, removal and rehoming. Want to go there? Okay. You don't like living here, do you? I don't think so.
I have a question. I'm just going to throw this out there because I know we probably have some people who are skeptics and what we all talk about. So here's my question to both of y'all, and I'd love to hear your answers.
Okay.
Do you think that the things that we've talked about tonight with Annabelle, with Peggy, are just some interesting case study, if you will, of a mixture of pop culture and paranormal folklore? I mean, that stems from things like movies of Child's Play with Chucky or Legend of Robert the Doll? Or do you think that there's validity, maybe not with just Annabelle and Peggy, but just across the board with situations like this?
I think that there is too much that happened all at once with Peggy. And I think that there are documented incidences of things happening with Annabelle that pretty much back up the claims.
I think there are actually more documented incidents with Peggy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Annabelle stuff relies on the accounts of the Warrens. Because none of the people ever involved in the Annabelle incidents have ever publicly stepped forward and said, yeah, this was me. This is what happened to me. All of them are off Ed and Lorraine Warren's accounts. However, Jane Harris, who was the owner, who removed Peggy the doll, has all of these Facebook messages of people saying that I was affected after seeing Peggy's face. There's actually more documented evidence around Peggy. Actual proof, document, this happened. I've got 80 people right here who can say something happened. So I think that there is some legitimacy to it. I mean, we have seen things. We have seen chairs rock by themselves. We have seen doors move. If that kind of thing can go on, why could it not be part of a dog?
Exactly.
I definitely think there's just way too much that has happened to be just a massive series of strange coincidences. I think that whatever has happened to these people has not happened by accident.
Ooh, are you saying that somehow what was interesting, the parallel between the two stories, both of the dolls were bought at secondhand shops or flea markets, basically. So they basically were discarded. They were abandoned. The people that owned them, both of them at some point, locked them in a shed at some point. They were locked in the shed, get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
They both appeared to give the people that owned them nightmares. They both caused headaches, nausea, that kind of thing. There are a lot of parallels. So
true. And that's not saying that sometimes I do think a creepy doll is just a creepy doll. That happens. But
I agree with that.
When it comes to these two specifically, I mean, you have to sign a legal waiver to look at this thing. This thing is not
both of them. I believe that there's a waiver at the Warrens Occult Museum as well that you sign whenever you go in.
I mean,
because Annabelle is there.
Well, that, and I would almost think just because of which museum it is. I mean, it's the Warrens in the cases that they dealt in themselves. I would think that you would have to sign a waiver regardless to just even step foot in the building, honestly.
And I have not found that, but I cannot imagine that would not be somewhere in the price of the ticket.
Yeah.
You know, like we reserve all rights to, you
can't sue us if you get some bad hoodoo on
It's again, it's the unknown with the paranormal. I mean, it's the same thing that we tell our groups that we lead into certain places. We go, look, number one, we're not going to guarantee that you are going to see a ghost. We're going to do everything in our power to make it happen, but we're never going to guarantee it. And number two, we're
never going to guarantee something ain't going to follow you either.
Yeah, we can't make guarantees that you won't be scratched. You won't, because it's unknown. That's the whole thing. But no, I was just asking that question because I know some people out there who will listen to this and watch this. They'll be like, well, what about Chucky and blah, 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 so
Chucky is actually based off Annabelle.
Well, I'm along the same lines as the both of y'all. I think that there's I just asking that question to play devil's advocate for some of our viewers and listeners. I think there is validity behind these two cases. I think there's too much documentation and too many things, the same occurrences happening on both levels. So,
and you got to remember, Peggy was from England.
Yeah.
And Annabelle was from the U.S. And yet two people on two different continents are reporting similar activities between these dolls. That's not an accident. And actually the toy Talking Tina in this old Twilight Zone episode, which happened to star Sean Connery as the lead in this Talking Tina doll, is actually based off of Peggy the doll. So, or actually, I take that back. I think Peggy came along later, but that idea of a possessed doll is not new.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, by dealing with what we deal with and doing what we do, there are items that people will attach certain energies to and will attach certain things to that could be either good or bad. You just have to be extremely careful when you're doing this, handling anything. You
be respectful is number one.
Be absolutely be respectful.
100%.
That's why anytime I go to Old Park, Jenny's getting pennies. Connie and Dan can take them away from her. I ain't taking it. I'll leave candy up there if they're, that's her mama and daddy. If they won't take away from her, they can. But I'm not going to.
Nope. Will not. Well, y'all.
Any final questions, gentlemen?
No, thank you. One thing I did find, I was going to say, when it comes to the museum, right now, you can't go to the museum in Connecticut. They are working. They said they're going to reopen soon.
Oh, in Monroe,
there's some sort of zoning issue right now they're trying to figure out.
Okay.
So the museum in Connecticut is closed, but when it's open,
man, I was going to go there tomorrow. God.
But it's not closed permanently, so you will soon be able to go.
It is. It's on the bucket list.
Don't plan your trip right now. Don't plan your trip right now to see Annabelle. Maybe a couple months. So, Blake, tell them what else they need to know about us.
Just that if you're whatever channel you're watching us on, always know that we are across all social media channels, not just the one you're currently viewing us on or listening to us on. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. We are across the board. We don't utilize every channel for the same reason, so we're going to use them for different reasons. And then also make sure that you're going to check out Unsettling Toys as well for their Facebook and Instagram and all of that, and check out their website. Go see if there's one you might want to rehome and adopt. And
Unsettling
if
Toys,
you do get
removal
one,
and rehoming.
And if you do get one and you have some spooky shit start happening, let us know. 'Cause
Send
we
us.
want to know about
Let
it.
us know. And also, the last thing that I will say is, again, our Gregg County Historical Museum tickets are currently on sale. That is on June the 11th from 7 p.m. until 2 a.m. So we only have a handful of those left. And once we are out, we are out. We have
got
no more friends. So go and buy them if you want them.
know, another thing you can do is you can go and become a Patreon member. Now, if you want to know what we really talk about, what we talk about before the show, child, some of those conversations are not fit for air. That's why
You got to pay.
that's really
That's why you have to
premium.
pay.
That's
Mhm.
premium stuff. But if you'd like to come and see kind of the stuff we talk about when we're not talking about spooky things, come on over to Patreon. It's one tier for everything. Spirits with Shelley, Bedtime with Blake, Ryan's reviews, and Ryan's got a new one I know he's going to review. He was telling me about that. Sounds really cool. So
Yeah.
if you want to do that, $5 a tier, and you get exclusive knowledge of anything we do first. We let you know before we ever announce it to the public.
And
Are we telling them that tonight?
well,
Are we gonna
they're
get
already
Okay.
out. They're already
That's true. You can
They're already
get
out
the
there.
tickets to come, and you have the option of doing a 1-night or 2-night investigation at the Old Park Hotel in Ballinger, Texas with us. It is a tiered ticket. If you purchase Friday and you want both nights, do the add-on for the second night to make sure you get both. There are only 10 tickets per night. This is not a catacall, and there are only 10 tickets. So if Nick Groff did 72 hours in there, you can do 48.
Yep.
And we'll have it all to ourselves.
Yep.
10
Yes, we
tickets.
will.
That's it. So if you want it, go get it now. Patreon knew about it last week. So what else do I need to do, Ryan?
Go on to Apple Music or go on to Spotify, rate and review us, boost our signal so
Share us.
people know about us, and tell two or three friends about us. Pass us along. And the more you do that, the more we can bring you guys.
So we hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode with Annabelle and with Peggy and with our very special guests, Brian Jillson, Sara Derrickson. I've stumbled over her name twice. I wanted to make sure I got it right that time. Sara Derrickson. And they are from Unsettling Toys, Removal, and Rehoming. So thank you so much for watching Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt. My partners in Paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. Thank you, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.